Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the BHS series. This week we are in collaboration with ESA Business School. And my name is Ziad Mubarak, and I am an associate director at ESA Business School. Thank you so much to Barcelona Health Hub for organizing this, for inviting me to moderate. Thank you, Aline Mazet, as well, for inviting me. This week we have a very interesting session discussing innovating in healthcare education. Our speakers with us today are Javier Olba, who's a senior health consultant at Elephant Jump. We have Daniela Klapp, the founder and CEO of Xpeer. And we have Magda Rosenmuller, who's an associate professor at ESA Business School. So I'm very excited to get started. This is a topic that is incredibly relevant today. I'm going to start off with a round of introductions. So Javier, maybe you could begin. Maybe just let us know a little bit about yourself and what was your what is your role concerning this topic, and what work have you done within this topic? I would say within innovation in healthcare education.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers, especially Aline, to invite me to share my experience. I have been working during more than 20 years in the health industry, in spite of the fact that I look like younger. This is one of the highest advantages of a webinar, of course. I work in several business positions during these last 20 years in pharma companies. But in my last 8 years, I had the opportunity to work in digital transformation and incorporating innovative strategies to pharma companies. First in a pharma company like Sanofi, and in the last 3 years in my consultant firm. Currently, I'm working with a lot of pharma companies, scientific society, hospitals, and health authorities to help them to solve their current challenge with innovative solutions, always through design thinking methodologies and digital tools. For instance, currently I'm working with Novartis in the neurology area to train neurologists to become entrepreneurships and develop innovative technologies to solve patient and meet needs in neurologist pathologies. But in the last 3 months, I'm enjoying a lot because most of my clients are sure that the digital tools and innovative methodologies are the key skill that they must incorporate in their daily professional activities. I have trained more than 7 companies during the last 2 months to incorporate multi-channel strategies to their promotion. Because maybe currently I'm one of the professionals with a longer experience on remote medical visit, and a lot of companies are interested in incorporating the remote medical visit in their promotional activity. The key ingredient is to adapt the new digital channels to the promotional models. We are changing the tools, but the objective of the pharma companies continues being the same. And we work not only in the training of these new digital channels or the new digital tools, but also in the sales representative skills. We need that these sales reps representative must practice a lot with these new digital channels to use it successfully. And moreover, we are working a lot with the marketing and medical teams because we would like that they adapt or readapt their content strategy to these new channels. Then in the last 3 months, we have seen a lot of change in the healthcare educations promoted by the pharma companies. Today, I will try to talk always from the pharma company perspective due to the fact that my colleagues can share their view from other perspective. Then I'm going to try to talk always from the pharma perspective. And this is my introduction.
Thank you very much. Daniela, how about you now?
Hi, Ziad. Thank you so much to Barcelona Health Hub for having this session. I think it's a very interesting topic, not only because of the COVID-19 situation, but it's a mission we have all to innovate in the way we train physicians. So on my part, all my life dedicated to the healthcare education myself. And in the last years, I will on my part represent the doctors. So the doctors were asking me about training on digital tools and how to handle all this digital innovation in the field, and also to access easily to education and enhance their skills to face the changes that we are facing right now. So basically, I created last year the app Xpeer. It's a mobile application that is Netflix style. I will try to show you. So really, it's very easy. It's medical education made easy, and I like to compare it like a Netflix. So it's video based and personalized content for the doctors to build personalized itineraries according to their needs. So basically, the topic is very interesting right now because in healthcare education, okay, so we have virtual reality simulators, lots of technology. But when it's back to basics, I mean, doing presentations, for instance, we train the doctors the same way as 20 years ago. And now that we don't have the opportunity to gather into congresses together, things are getting a little bit more difficult and accelerating a change that was on its way. That's it for me.
Great, thank you very much. Magda.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure and what an honor and a pleasure to talk about something that is very close to our heart at Yes. This is what we do. Myself, I'm a medical doctor, and I like very much, Daniela, what you presented. I think when I studied, I would have loved to have something like that, and will definitely change the way that we look into the qualification of doctors. We look into what we do at Yes. So we are teaching, the MBA executives, professionals, startups. So we have a variety of different groups that we teach to. It's management, it's change management, and then we might be looking into innovation management. But in recent years, we have been working a lot on creating this entrepreneurial spirit in companies, but we have also been working on looking into what do doctors need. And we have been working with pharmaceutical companies also, and we have been teaching their clients like medical doctors and QLs. We have been also teaching Salesforce. So we have been looking into how can we make them more creative and more using design thinking, using new ways of innovating. If we can now just pass to the next slide, we have been now COVID. We really took as an opportunity. As Yes, we have been working with our learning innovation unit on new ways over the last years with our global campus, with having already some virtual with our virtual classroom. That's the one you see here on this slide. But I think it was COVID that really pushed us. It's saying, well, our MBA students would like to finish their MBA. They still need to do classes, and really from one day to the next, we moved everything online. There was a team at Yes that in a week we had everything online, and then we refined it. It was really a lot of learning on the go. It was great because it was real opportunity of saying, well, this is the moment. Students were open to that. They wanted to finish their MBA. So everyone was very positive towards that. And I think this was a really fantastic experience. If we move on to the next slide, is like we at Yes are part of the Business School Alliance for Health Management. And in our work with them, we kind of discovered now we had a meeting of the association last week, and we said, hey, this is now we could teach, like I could teach in the Miami Business School, and I have an expert then from Stanford teaching at Yes, which by the way we had already done last week. So there's a lot of different things coming up, and if we move on to the next would be one collaboration that is possible now because we are in the virtual world is this great initiative that Harvard Business School students started with the MBA's Fight COVID. And I know that Sia has been very much involved in pushing our students on getting some startups involved. They meet every week, so we have real students helping on real startups all over the world. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity that has been possible because it's actually online, and we realized, well, we can do that online. No, if you move then on, is this the another thing that we do is the BAM case competition that probably we will host at YESA next year, because we said, well, we're in a virtual world now, we can do it. Probably we will team up with an African school. Let's move on. I brought you a few examples. These are just things that I can share with the audience later of how medical education, and I think Daniela already gave a great example. So this is Take the Wind. I love this company that is based in Coimbra that is using simulation. So you can do simulations online, and that's a great way. And if we move to the next, this is Tony Lassie from Hospital Clinic that created the IES channel, and here surgeons from all over the world can actually watch that. The point here is probably to say that we really see a democratization of access to education, that we can really in geographical access, but also low income people that can really access innovation, education. Let's pass to the next. So here we have seen the education more the clinical, and that can be innovated, and Daniela can probably talk about this much better than I. What we did inside EIT Health is looking into what other skills do clinicians need. So we did this the future health managers, so that would be executives and also professionals, definitely the IT skills, the technical skills of using the digital skills is a very important point that was addressed here, and that we then have been taken up in different programs. And now if we move to the next, just a few examples of innovation of educative programs under EIT Health, like the MedTech Bootcamp, where we participate at Yes, so we bring people together from all over Europe to work together. Part of this will be done online also. To the next, where we see this is particularly looking into the summer school, that is similar, that's more to a younger crowd. And then the next one particularly looking into the role of women, like how can we empower women. This is on the rooftop of YESA, and it's nice to see, because I haven't been there for nearly 3 months now, so I'm eager to go back. I have 2 more slides, maybe moving to the next. That's a very interesting one in EIT Health. This is about needs-based innovation here in Barcelona. It's Biocard who is implementing this with their Möbius program, that we really, and that's one of the other points I want to make, in that education is moving more practical. We really do applied things. We do needs-based. We teach to them how to do needs-based innovation, and this is like younger fellows. And the last slide I have is an example from Ireland. That is the bio innovate that are using this needs-led innovation also with executives. So that with Medtronic, for example. So I'm just this in a nutshell, the variety of things that we're doing. We need a different workforce. That would be the one important point. We are moving digital, and COVID has helped to this. And the third point probably is saying, well, needs-based education, and I would say fun also, to make education fun, and to show people that can make an impact. If they're better educated, they can really do and to make an impact in the world. And maybe I close here. Siad, back to you.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you, Magda. I think what you illustrated, what you've always illustrated, is that we have representation here by different stakeholders, and all the stakeholders have to play a role. So. Javier is talking, is representing pharma. We have the innovative startup also here with Daniela, and then Magda representing universities, and everyone's going to be playing this role in education. And it's so relevant right now, especially in the context of what we're going through. So maybe my question is the bit in the room, and many of you have touched on it already, is COVID-19 and how has it sort of disrupted the status quo? And here we're talking about a very traditional way of doing business, a very traditional way.
We lost our moderators.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
We lost Ziad.
We
But
have
I
been
think we get.
preparing. Yes,
Yeah.
we can continue with the discussion because we have been preparing in some minutes ago, and then
Yeah.
the second topic that we would like to focus is what about which are the current challenge with COVID-19 for the different perspective. If you want, I can start from the pharma company perspective. During the last 3 months, maybe the three big challenges that the pharma companies has had with their relationship with other stakeholders is regarding the first one is to try to investigate in new drugs to solve the pathologies, to solve the COVID-19. And there are a lot of companies who are investing a lot of money and searching new vaccines for coronavirus. Maybe this is one of the big challenges for the pharma companies. The second big challenge that the pharma companies are investing a lot of time is trying to help the stakeholders like physicians and health authorities to develop solutions to solve the problems related with the pandemic. For instance, there are a lot of companies who are developing new software that make easier the diagnosis of this virus. Or, for instance, there are other companies who are developing a new content for patients or regarding their pathologies and relationship with this pandemic. But maybe one of the big challenges, and today we are talking about this challenge, is about the educational. I told before that this is one of the big challenges because it's maybe one of the most difficult for pharma companies to readapt their educational proposal to physicians. Because the reps that are the most important active that the pharma company has to train physicians is the sales representative. And all of these sales representatives are at home during these last 3 months. They cannot continue visiting. And the pharma companies at the beginning started to take the opportunity to have all the sales representatives at home to train them about new skills or to train them about how to use these new digital tools. And they did a lot of big efforts to incorporate digital channels to the educational programs. And there are several projects that we can demonstrate that the pharma companies readapt completely the educational programs that they are offering to physicians. But the big challenge regarding the educational is what is going to happen in the coming month, because maybe in September we will have the opportunity to come back to the visit with the physicians, and we didn't know what could happen if we need to maintain the distance with our physicians. For that reason, it's clear that everything that we have learned in digital communication in the last month, we need to continue doing, and we cannot continue with the real presence visit, and we can continue with a mixed model doing educational promotion with remote visits. And the other big challenge is what would happen with the Congress, because as you know, the Congress for physicians are maybe one of the most important points where physicians can upload new information, updated information, and maybe in the coming month, they won't have the opportunity to organize congresses, and because we cannot stay a lot of people together. And we will see how the pharma companies can readapt this digital congress to their promotional model. But in all the challenge that we are fighting in the pharma companies, what is very clear is that we need to sell the obligations to become flexible and agile and to have agility, because these are the big skills that people need to develop in the pharma companies to adapt to this new circumstance, because nobody knows what would happen in the future. And this is my perspective about the current challenge in the pharma companies.
Thanks, Javier, and sorry for my technical difficulties. Yeah, you answered
Don't
exactly the
worry.
question I wanted to ask. I would say one more aspect of this is, do you feel that there's an opportunity here I mean, is there, in the long run, will we see actually, will there be a positive sort of aspect to this down the line?
I think that's a big, there is a big real opportunity for the pharma companies, because normally the pharma companies in the communication strategies they are always using product communication strategies. They are always talking about the products, about the drugs. And I think that this new promotional model offered with digital content need to adapt the communication with the needs of the doctors. And for that reason, we are changing the content that we are offering in this digital promotion. And for instance, we start to work with physicians about their skills. We are talking about them about some aspects of the pathologies. And we are starting to forget that we only need to talk about our products, and we start to use pull strategies. And this, I think that this is a good opportunity to offer value to our doctors.
Brilliant, thank you. Daniela, I would say same question about COVID-19, about the challenges and also the opportunities there in your case.
Yes, so the biggest challenge is what you said, Xavi, is that now that there are no congresses to attend to update the knowledge, how the doctors can access medical education. And the main challenge I see right now is that if you had planned your congress for the next month, the way you transform it into the digital world is completely different. So basically, you have to start from scratch, because this is not the same to be in the same room together and to have human contacts and networking opportunities than being alone at home or in the practice and in front of your computer or your smartphone with all the distraction and so on. So the main challenge is, how do I engage physicians online when going together is not possible? So that's what we are trying to do in XP. Like, how do we engage physicians? Well, there are many ways, of course. We can hold webinars like that and have discussion. It's perfect for that. But when it comes to training the physician on a certain topic, it's exactly as Xavier said. Like, you have to not talk about the product, but you have to bring really value content with the best speakers in the world, and you have to make this content engaging. And most of the time, we discover that new techniques and innovation in the way we educate doctors are maybe simple, like not having PowerPoints. Try to be creative and have the attention of your attendees. It can be with the micro-learning techniques that we use, for instance, in our app Xperia, because the attention span online is very, very low. Like people decide to see a video or streaming in the first 30 seconds. So really, you have to go online with all the strategy. And when I said at the beginning in my introduction, it's all about back to basics and how we can innovate in the basic principles of online training. It's like that. I mean, how can I engage doing things differently? Because right now, the biggest challenge is that it's not only doing webinars and going streaming. It's not the way to do things effectively. It's to build really a strategy, because online you have to define other types of strategy to reach your goals and your targets.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Magda, how are things changed? You know, for you, I know that you don't have access to the classrooms as much as you used to.
This is my classroom.
Yeah.
It's right here. Yeah, no, I think I join what my colleague said in terms of there are fantastic opportunities, but on the other side also some challenges. So for a school that it says, well, like, yes, no, we say it's case study, you know, that we would say case study, you need to be presential, you need to have this experience of this, what we call the transformational experience of discussing with your peers and all the things that go around in the coffee breaks, etc., around the classroom, the meetings, etc., is part of the learning experience, which joins your commentary on the the conferences. No, this interaction that goes actually is as important that goes in the breaks, and particularly for pharmaceutical companies. No, and to reach out to the keywords in the breaks and discuss. So I think this networking and presential interaction was suddenly lost. And we had always said, no, case study cannot be online. You can move a talk online, but not case studies. And suddenly we had to do it. We had to move things online. So we really worked hard on that and thought into, how can we actually use the blackboard that we usually use on the screen. It's better to have it white. It's seen better. Now we start actually also to use an iPad where we can actually use the screen and then just write out, so that some of my colleagues have been using that. Then we done a lot of sessions of training, so training our faculty in order to use online, and we did a lot of learning in there. That Harvard Business School did a whole series of webinars on how to teach case studies in an online environment, and that then suddenly this challenge turns into an opportunity. Well, great. We sit with great colleagues in the same classroom. We ask questions, and we actually learn much more than we would have learned if we would just have going on as usual. Challenges definitely for some of my elder colleagues, but I just one of the colleagues that has been very much involved in driving this is Professor Sandra Sieber. She said, I was so amazed that one of those professors that are like having been at YESO for a long time and she would not have expected, but suddenly we're really enjoying it. We're doing a great job in an online environment. So I think that would be the thing. Well, it's good. No, this is really something that there's a huge learning and something very, very positive. But now this, I would say for the last months has been really good. Now we actually started to work on campus again from Monday on. We have a whole design of safety instructions of students going half the classes only going with a lot of distances between them in the classroom. So the classes are hybrid. We teach the half of the students in the class, half of them out of the class. So that is also a great learning experience. But moving on, what is the next step? We really think that comes autumn, we really think that for the new MBAs coming in, we need this being present, this network here, that you refer to in conferences. So we actually have to find the best way how to go over these crises now and see how can we actually manage until we can go more or less back to normal. I think there will be a new normal, so we will not really go back to normal, but we will definitely take up some of these things for the future. We are still looking into how to adapt things like design thinking workshops. So there are some new tools, and there's another opportunity. There are a lot of startups that are starting to say, well, let's see how we can do it. We can help you doing that. Also, people that are consultants that know, well, I know how to create an online interactive and enthusiastic environment. The same that Daniela, you mentioned for doctors. How can we engage them? And they have been working with distant teams. From a big pharma would be you have teams all over 5 different continents, and you bring them together in an engaging way. So these people know how to do that. So we definitely will be using, all of us will be using more how to do more engagement in the future. So a lot of learning, still a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities also in reaching out. I mentioned that earlier, that I'm sitting on a working group with BAM, this Business School Alliance, on let's design a few sessions that each of the school is doing one, and then we can share that with our students. So I would say we have both, and I think it's about managing it well to make the best out of it.
Thanks, Magda. You all touched on several themes. The idea that you have to be there specifically to learn. You have to be in the classroom. You have to be if we're talking about the physicians, for example, you have to train at the hospital, for example. All these things have been sort of disrupted, And I want to sort of expand on the last part of my question. What excites you all the most about the innovations that are coming in the future? You know, what can we, what is it that we can expect, whether it be, and what technologies can we expect to, I would say, roll out in the near future and maybe more in the distant future, I would say. Let's start with, I would say, let's start with Daniela this time.
For me, the biggest opportunity is giving access, universal access to the best knowledge, because now we have the means to do that. So even in Africa, they have a mobile phone and an internet connection. So this is a fantastic opportunity to make continuing medical education and medical education for the students available all around the world. And it's not just something that would be nice to do, but very necessary, because what is completely a reality is that right now we miss many doctors and healthcare professionals, and we saw that with the COVID-19 crisis. But 10 years from now, we will miss millions of healthcare professionals to take care of us around the world. So we really have to innovate in the way we deliver medical education to make it more effective, more quicker, and easier to have to be able to face the global health outcomes.
Brilliant. Javier?
Is happening not only in the last 3 months is regarding that the scientific content or the medical content that is available in the digital channels are increasing very fast. There are a lot of data that say that maybe in 2 or 3 years we will have the double of scientific content available in digital channels. Then there are a big gap between the scientific content available and the capability of the human to study all the scientific content that are available. For that reason, we need companies who take the opportunity to help physicians, for instance, on the health authorities, to find the innovative and needed content to take the best decisions. For that reason, we need someone who develop content accurate strategies to facilitate physicians to reach the real content that they need to take the best decisions to treat patients. And I think this is one of the big opportunities. And we saw in the last 3 months that if we share our experience or our content with the rest of companies, we can achieve whatever we want.
Can I ask you, Javier, speaking of this, how do you prevent something like digital overload of happening with physicians, given that
Yeah.
I imagine all
This is
pharmaceutical companies are going through
this
the
is
same
the
thing?
real big challenge. This is the real big challenge because, for instance, in the last 2 months, more than 20 companies has started with the remote medical visit. Then, as you can imagine, our doctors are completely full. They have an agenda completely full because in some specialties the doctors has stopped their consultancy. Then now they are starting another time with the consultancies, and they have a lot of big queues of patients, and there are a lot of companies who are trying to reach them with these remote visits. And then this overload of digital activities is a big problem for physicians. And what is the real solution? The real solution is to do a right segmentation of our customers, of our doctors. We need to know what is the real interest of our doctors and offering them in the best channels or in the time that they can stay with us. Then for that reason, it's very important not to give digital contents to everybody, but also to target our physicians in the digital preference and especially in the real needs that they have to offer the real content that they need. And I think this is the real challenge for the pharma companies, not to overload the doctor's time.
Thanks, Javier. Magda, I know you work with many startups, with many projects, and you're seeing a lot of these innovative projects sort of coming to fruition and being accelerated, especially now with COVID, during the time of COVID-19. So I'd love to hear something you're excited about
Yeah.
in this
Well,
regard.
yeah. I had some issues on the other question that you had in terms of the
Hmm.
change. The several
Yeah.
point, I think, maybe if I might be, if I could start with that, is I like what Trevi said about the knowledge, the change of knowledge. Like suddenly we have very quick knowledge, and there's a lot of, well, there's not the usual checks. So what is really is true or what is not true. We have these preprints floating around. So how reliable is that? We want to know more and quicker about COVID, but we're jumping the usual things that will also in the innovation now and in finding a vaccine and finding treatment. No, so is maybe a or at least a question mark. But on the other side, we have seen that fantastic developments, innovation developments have happened because people just took things in their own hands. They said we need another we need another machine, so we just use 3D printing and we do it ourselves. So these I would love to keep some of this spirit of just say, well, we have a problem, let's just do it. And that's what we actually try. We have been trying to teach doctors. Now they have really done it. There are so many creative solutions. How can we keep that on? Can we learn from how to do that, and can we teach that how to be responsible and changing things that do not work and not waiting that the system will change it. I think so. A very important point. Other things that we change access. I think Daniela has mentioned that. But there's another thing in terms of access also, and here maybe that comes to your question, is this collaboration that we have as academic institutions in our learning environment with the companies. No, that we really actively work together. And usually you had to reach out. No, I had for my health management course, I would fly someone in from Basel to speak with the students. Well, now I can say, well, you know what? We just do it. We just do it online. So I think a lot more collaboration will be there in the future, and that will definitely be also the case for the startups. Know that they can much better access to the advice that is really needed all over the world. They don't have to travel, but they can just through the network, and there are a lot of different good networks. They can access the advice that they need. So I'm sure that we will see some very interesting changes there.
Thank you, Magda. Um, so I think just following on what you said, Magda. What do you think? What do you think is the university's role here? I would say in supporting this. Maybe a separate question. If we think about how traditionally medical doctors have been trained, do you think they should be trained on different things now, given that we're
Yeah,
entering this sort of digital world?
yeah, that's a
I'm
very
curious.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So probably starting with the role of universities. Usually, classically, this is the place for research and innovation. Many things that we see out there now being sold by private companies or by the big companies have actually been developed in university. And I must say, particularly Europe here with the European Research Program has done a great job on supporting universities in doing that. And as they will actually look into the tech transfer, they will look into the creating startup companies themselves, helping them with the IP and with other things. So I think this role of universities of bringing new things, new discoveries out in the real world and applying it so that it reaches the patients or wherever they can make impact. I think that's a very important role of universities. No, and here also the collaboration with the industry that I mentioned. I just was evaluating Erasmus Mundi project by the European Commission, and there one very important point. So Erasmus Mundi is collaboration with different universities across the globe. It's mandatory then to reach out and work with universities to make this practical. So that I think it's an important role of universities of staying close, no, to the real world and make what they teach really relevant. The role in medical studies, so I have been working with different medical schools across Europe on saying, well, what is the future of medical teaching? And I know that there's a lot of other people looking into what should be the medical and clinical curriculum. I mean, I'm a doctor, but that's not my expertise on that part, on the clinical part, where it's probably looking into how we want to do more practical thing. That's like the general tonus on the clinical part. And here, so now to do more simulation, to more practical thing, and do the knowledge base, the information we said that is so big, we cannot. And when I learned medical studies, you needed to learn so much by heart. You still have to do that a bit, but it's like really moving into the practical thing. So there's a lot of thinking now on how should the future medical studies be looking like. But our role was then is like how to bring exactly your questions here. How do we bring entrepreneurship? How do we bring creativity? How do we bring this multidisciplinarity into the studies, and at least into the master programs? And here EIT Health has been put on the way several master programs that are actually bringing in a multidisciplinary way together the bioengineers, the doctors, even the economists, the artists, and that's a great way, I think, to move on. And I'm sure that the role of universities will be that of fostering multidisciplinary work very early on.
Thanks, Magda.
Sorry,
Daniel?
I would
Yes,
like to
go
I would
ahead.
like to add something to Magda. I completely agree with everything that you say, but I think that you have two potential benefits that the health industry can take profit from the university. The first, that you have the credibility to put all the stakeholders together to share our experience and to try to solve the problems all together, and you have the credibility to do it. And the second big benefit that could offer the university to the pharma, to the medical societies, or to the health industry, is the open innovation. You have the opportunity to learn from other industries. I think that normally the health industries is very close, and we are always the same. And we need to see other industries to learn from other industries, because the most of technologies that we can use in the health to help patients that are developing in other industries. Then I think that you have a big, important role to develop innovation, taking other innovation from other company or from other industries and to bring to the health industry.
It's a very good you make this point. I mean, I've been working with IMI, the Innovative Medicine Initiative, that was pharma driven, like FPR driven. The big pharmas got together to work that, so the European Commission pays the part of academics of universities, and then they really realized that say, well, we need other industries here. So we need of big data. So we need the IT companies here. So we have really realized that we only can drive innovation by bringing industries together. And you're right that the university as like a neutral ground, a neutral platform, can create actually that space where we can discuss without being from one pharma company or the other. We just had a meeting with our new health alumni chapter, the alumni health chapter by BHHSeries, where we have a lot of different pharma companies together, and they say, well, between these alumni, we can really realize to have a better exchange. So here also there's a continuous role of universities with their alumni to actually really drive change, bringing people together. So I very much agree. Thanks for making that point.
Thank you both. I have a question, sort of a follow-up question for Daniela. You touched on conferences. I imagine that virtual reality in the future, virtual reality technology might replace this need and might create opportunities for networking, in this virtual space. So, in this sense, I'm curious, what is your vision for the future, in terms of, physician education in general?
I think that's the major learning of COVID-19 is that we can maintain contact and network despite the fact that we can be face to face. And this will last. I'm sure about that because for not only for the COVID-19 situation, but also for the environment. I mean, it's clear now that we can do things differently. So really, when we will meet, because we will meet again, of course, it will be really for necessary meeting. So really, we have to find the way to generate networking opportunities and community online, and it's the major challenge right now because it's not only being in the same room, is having the room in our programs to let people interact and have the discussion to express themselves. So for instance, one of the topics my two colleagues talked about is about cooperation, and the role of the doctors and the medical education providers is also key to collaborate between each other and to make the knowledge available online and structuring it, because we speak about scientific knowledge, so everything must be professional, ethic, evidence-based. So when I see doctors that are telling things on YouTube, for instance, I say, no, we have new means to do things professionally. And for instance, in Expeer, we want to build this kind of community, making the doctor the giving the opportunity to put the knowledge, his knowledge, out there, and not just being the key opinion leader in the conference, but sharing knowledge altogether to make the knowledge accessible anytime, anywhere, and quicker, because Congress is once a year. Now we have the good opportunity to make it every month, every week, every day. So that's the biggest opportunity.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit now about sort of the barriers to entry. I mean, we've talked a lot about different types of innovation, a lot of focus on content and delivering content all the time. We're talking about a very traditional industry as well. And I wonder, what are the barriers to entry on one hand, and then on the other hand, what are the types of partnerships that we need to roll out these innovations in the future? Magda, maybe we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I mean, we have been over the last years already seeing a lot of different online teaching ways, no, but a lot of different platforms, and we. As I said earlier, we already said, but case study, it needs to be presential, etc. So I think that there will be a change. The barriers to entry, and I take what Daniela just said. No, it's like, is really, if we can see like this is a high level content that we have here, and for YESO or other universities is the place where research is done. I mean, our insights into management is because we do a lot of research, and that would be similar of universities, of a medical faculty, for example, and of a QL. So I would say barriers to entry, it will stay excellent. Now, will we always be able to really show that this is better than another? Probably the name will play a role. So institutions that we know that have been delivered, and like the name of Harvard, no, it's usually have a different price tag than other other business schools. So, but I think this is something that we have to continue to prove, and there might be different ways how we do that. But all of us have started to do online teaching, and it's a new market, so we don't really know how will that develop. I would say we will keep on doing things presential, but I would say probably most of these things will be in a hybrid way. And here, probably in terms of barriers to entry, is definitely also the location. Well, the location, the installation, no, the facilities that you have. Also, the type of programs that you use. I know here Barcelona Health Hub use a fantastic tool, no, to facilitate these series that works very well. We have been looking into that, so I think the access to good technology tool will be a barrier to entry. And then, even so, the very important point, this access that we democratize, that we have geographical access, and also the access to good education for lower income, because the price will be lower, will be also the access to technology in terms of broadband, etc. So that would be my kind of my points on what are the barriers to entry.
And I mean, Magda, you've been in many different partnerships as well with various. I mean, you work with various companies within different consortiums as well. I mean, there must definitely be a need for interdisciplinary and inter-industry sort of relationships and collaborations within education, this space specifically, right? To roll out innovation simply for example, for teaching how doctors have to do, for example, over augmented reality or things like that. How do you roll out innovation, I mean, within a very regulated market, right, in this sense? And I have the same question also for Daniela, just because you have, within your startup specifically, what are the barriers that you've seen, and what are the collaborations that you need as well? So maybe Magda and then Daniela. Yeah.
Well, let's start with the question: who is the QL? No, who is actually? We have a project now. We do one with virtual reality for rehabilitation of stroke. We work with the Asile des Aveugles in Lausanne, and also the University of Aachen in Germany. So the guy, he's a genius, no? That actually put the virtual reality, and then they also use neurostimulation. So it's a very interesting project. But when we ask, look, why don't you give us a list of QLs that we can ask that might use this? The people I know are people, they're tech freaks, no? These are people that they're engineers, and they work on that part. So I think the role in be it education or support, you asked this earlier, to startups, is that we can also help to meet these more technical and science with those that do implement. And we are helping here to do needs assessment. So we go out and ask the stroke rehabilitators, like, how will you be using this device in the future? We have our students in their summer job will actually help us do that, and they love to go out in the real world to actually get the experience there. So I think the education, definitely there's a big role in bringing people together and bringing different universities together. We have been working with KTH in Stockholm, which is the Royal Institute of Technology, and I worked a lot with the vice president, and he's the guy. He's an expert in earthquakes. And I must say, I learned so much from him. And then he asked me now to join in a project they do, where there is also a look into prevention. No, that is the whole thing, that we look into preparedness. No, in terms of COVID, how can we do this in earthquakes? So there's a lot of parallels there. So I love to be part of that project, or for the moment it's a proposal preparation, because I know there's so much that I can learn and take back to the classroom for my students. So maybe I stop here. We have many other projects, but I would say I would be motivated by joining a project because of the amount of learning I will get out of it.
Daniela, what
Yes.
collaborations that you need?
Yeah. So for me, what you have to take into account is, of course, the regulation and also the ethics. These play a huge role in the sector. So for that, you have to have experience in the sector or have someone that has the experience. But we find that, and Barcelona Health Hub is a great example of that. When you mix people, when you mix MDs, doctors, with PhDs, researchers, with ITs, with technology, and with also the latest trends in regulations, policies, data, ethics, all of that. It's when really you get the whole picture. So I would strongly recommend that when you do this kind of, when you want really to innovate in healthcare education, talk to all the stakeholders, and there are many. I can count them because you have to count with the universities, the medical societies, and I mean, lots of stakeholders, but that's how you will have the whole picture.
Javier, what about pharma and medical device? What role do they play?
In the case of pharma companies, there are a lot of programs that they are collaborating with other external stakeholders because the pharma companies has the market, but they don't have the capability to innovate. For that reason, when they have a challenge, they go to the market to find startups, for instance, to find the technologies that could help to solve that problems. And that's very, very typical in the pharma companies that we are opening our challenge to external companies because they have the innovatives. As we are arriving to the singularity moment, then it's clear that there are technologies around the world that can help us to the health companies to solve the current problems. The only thing that we need is to search these technologies and to incorporate it and to readapt to our real needs. For that reason, the collaborative innovation is real necessary in our sector.
Thank you. So I have one question from the audience, and it's relevant. We were talking a lot about, physician education, but, and sort of in the patient empowerment. Our question is, what is your experience in relation to patient health education? Do you think that it's something that will be changing in the future? Maybe whoever.
I have a long experience in education of patients. There are a lot of clinical trials that show that if we empower the patient, they can use efficiently the medical resources that are available. And there are a lot of companies or a lot of patients associations that are doing a lot of educational programs. And I think that any experience that are successful with doctors we can bring to the patients because the patients are the most interested in having the maximum information about their pathologies. Then is everything that we think about educational for physicians, we need to think also education for patients because the patients has the key to solve and to manage their own pathologies.
Right.
Yeah, we have been.
Magda, go ahead. Sorry, Magda.
Yeah, no, so we have been involved in the project with co-creation with patients, and this is fantastic. So they're very active, and I agree. I mean, this is something that should be done much more of involving them, no, on what is the best way that they see. We are also involved in a project that is for patient-led innovation, and here these are real startups that come out of ideas by patients. So it's Portuguese Danish collaboration, but so we will do a boot camp for patients for patient-led innovation, and I think we should do more of that. This needs led that really make things that are relevant for patients, and here closer collaboration, no, with patients and with physicians and healthcare professionals, and that's probably also what you do, Daniela.
Yes, for me, the key is that the doctor and the healthcare professional are the key to train efficiently the patient. And yes, the patient has the biggest role in his treatment, in his pathology. And the most important challenge for the future is prevention. And prevention will only occur if the patient is in charge of his or her health. And how can we do that? Well, we have first to train the healthcare professionals, and all the healthcare system has to put a system in place on educating the patients, the citizen, on how to manage his or her health. And for me, the perfect link between the patients and the need for the society to change, to go for prevention, society is the doctor. And for instance, I dedicated myself for a full year speaking with doctors all around the world. And when I say what is the biggest challenge right now is empathy. It seems like, wow, okay, just that. No, it's very important. And there are lots of studies that show that if you teach a doctor how to be empathetic with the patient, well, it increases its compliance to treatment, its trust, etc., etc. So really, there are a lot of things to do there. Please innovate there.
Yes.
I completely agree because
I
I completely agree because I'm sure that the role of physicians is going to change a lot in the future. The machine learning is going to give solutions to the health system that currently the physician cannot give. There are a lot of clinical trials that are supporting that the artificial intelligence take better decisions than doctors. Then what would be the real role that the physicians will have in the future? The real role is a coach of the patient. And then they need to develop these skills to manage and to go with the patients, taking the best decisions. And I absolutely agree with the empathy as one of the skills that we need to teach, for instance, in the university.
Yes, correct. We're trying to do that.
Absolutely.
That's exact. I very much agree on that.
We are closing the circle.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
I completely agree. No, I think that's an incredible note to end this with. I'd like to thank you for attending. Thank the Barcelona Health Hub and this coalition for this invitation. And so the next week's session won't be happening. The next session will be happening on June 1st. If you've been following these religiously. Thank you to the speakers. I believe we're going to be staying for a little while just for the pic. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barcelona Health Hub,
Thank
for
you.
organizing it, and it was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What a pleasure.